Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Just Being Center for Mindfulness and Presence, I welcome all of you to today's webinar on starting out a live conversation for early career counselors. So we have with us Dr. Jaya Rajagopalan today. She has a PhD in psychology awarded by Savitribai Phule Pune University. And as an academician, she has contributed a lot in curriculum design, in research publications, and also she has offered consultancy services. Currently, she's the HOD of psychology in St. Mira's College for Girls, Pune. Pleasure to have you, Dr. Jaya, with us today. And also, we have Sandy with us. Sandy is the founder director of Just Being Center, and she is a practicing psychotherapist for more than 2 decades now, close to 25 years. She works with mindfulness and presence oriented psychotherapeutic approach. So, very, very warm welcome to you as well, Sandy. And on that note, I would like to invite you to take this ahead with Dr.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Gayatri. And thank you, everyone. We hope that while it is a conversation that we'll be having, it's also a conversation between all of us. And some of you may know this, but uh, so the Just Being Center for Mindfulness and Presence and St. Mira's College, we've been working together for quite a number of years. And St. Mira's is an academic collaboration with the courses that we offer, both the 1 year course in mindfulness based counseling, listening with embodied presence, and the 2 year program in presence oriented psychotherapy. So, um, so we share a lot of common ground, and and yeah, I was pretty relaxed for this conversation today because it's Jaya, and she comes with a wealth of experience, as well as um, I think what and I've said this before, like what we've observed when we go to St. Mira's College and we interact with the psychology students, and it's already a strong kind of like footing there with being oriented in the attitudes required. So, really, very welcome, Jaya, and who better to have this conversation with as to what do people just starting out in the field of psychology, wanting to be counselors in the field. How does one become a counselor? What is that in terms of becoming a counselor? The process of that, as well as being a counselor in the field. What does it mean to just be in this field of counseling? But I think very much related because Jaya is also you know, has also designed the like curriculums for also the psychology department at St. Mira's, uh, and it would be also nice to hear as to where training is concerned, training to be a counselor, what can be kind of like look at and expect, and what's there in the field, what is missing, what are the missing links, and how, as people wanting to practice, how can we bridge that gap? Okay. So yeah. So Jaya, maybe starting with just exploring, just exploring maybe yeah, um, what it means to, according to you, being a counselor, entering into the field. What does it require? Um, and are we really ready and prepared for that? I can go back to my days and say that no, I wasn't ready. I don't think we are. So maybe we can just explore that. And also, I'll invite everyone, just feel free if you have a question that you have, just put it in chat, and we don't need to have the questions at the end. We can have a flowing conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Sandy, for that. And happy to see all of you over here. I think we all share the same intention of being good counselors in the field. And I think a few of you are on the pathway to reaching there. So uh, I must say, we have a long journey. It's a journey that's never going to end, and you are never going to arrive. So we don't want to wait for a destination where we are going to arrive. But one of the most important parts, which we have felt when we have been training students or we have been interacting with therapists and counselors in the field, that it's when you start off, it'll be a lot about doing counseling. But our aim finally is to become a counselor. So, in essence, what we are trying to say is that the training that we usually receive at our entry level when we enter into the field is a training that gives us a lot of intellectual inputs on what counseling looks like. It tells us about the theories, it tells you about the structure, it tells you about the techniques. And of course, we need that. We need that because that's the space that we are going to begin from. But truly, the change happens with your client on the basis of who you are in that room, not really what you do. So, who do you become in that room? What is the work that you have done on yourself to be available to the person in their vulnerability? So, usually, when I look at what really does it mean to become a counselor, it sounds like something which is very difficult to grasp. Like when I'm saying become a counselor, what does that really indicate? But if I had to put it into a single sentence, I would usually state that to become a counselor is to be able to sit in a room present with someone who is at their vulnerable and you not turning away. And you being a, what does that really bring for us? For us, it brings, am I able to sit with uncertainty? Am I able to sit with my own anxiety that is emerging in the session? Am I able to know what I am feeling right now? Am I able to catch the pause that my client is bringing into the session? How does silence feel like for me? And Sandy, I feel that this part, which is the most essential part of becoming a counselor, is really not available in our traditional training models. Our traditional training models are training our students to have the understanding of the theory. So it's more cognitive in nature, but it does not really give time or space for the counselor to be able to enter into that space as a person who is sitting with another person. So that's one area, and I'm sure in your training with mindfulness as well, Sandy, that you must have observed this when your students come in for the first few times. You must have noticed that even sitting with someone completely in the present moment with presence is something that they must have never encountered before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's there, and I think very much that's our endeavor to try to bring that in, which I think is really at the heart of what actually creates change. You know, there are the skills and the techniques, but this is what is at the heart of it, which is often very invisible. It's not like a visible kind of like skill, but yet I think it is very skillful, and therefore it needs practice and training to really be with, like you were saying, Jaya, to really be with someone at a human to human at that contact level, but at the same time for the other person, right? Where you're not coming in as uh, as you would in another relational space, but like really the space is for the other. And yet there is this very deep human contact, and yet it is for the other person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so I'm just wondering then, Jaya, maybe what do you find are these very essential ingredients then that create such a space that allows this kind of contact, this kind of relational depth, as it is called. What allows for that to happen?
Right, right. So, like you have, put forward, Sandy, that the first thing that we have seen and which we are trying also to bring into training is, so if I had to put it down into elements that really are required for bringing depth into your work. So the first one is, of course, presence. And when we speak about presence, the presence to be there at that moment completely and fully with your client, and which then translates into, I'm not trying to rush my client to reach somewhere. I am not trying to tell my client, or I am not thinking about what should be my next response to what the client is bringing up. Or I must not be thinking at that point in time that how would this pan out for me, for the how many more sessions will my client require. So when we are talking about presence, and the quality, presence sounds simple, but presence is very deep. And when we offer that relational presence to our client at that moment, they feel seen, which we call then as the awareness coming in. Your client feels seen, your client feels heard, your client feels not judged, and your client feels not rushed. And all of that is something which early career counselors, and rightfully so, I would say, that when we enter into the space, our focus is on, am I doing it right? Am I using the right technique? Have I stuck to the model? Is my model, have I brought in the model correctly like the model had asked me to bring in? The shift happens when you say, what is happening in this room right now? What is emerging between me and my client right now? From, am I doing it right? So, like Sandy also brought in, that the space is for your client. You are building a safe space with an intention of a deep connection, but the deep connection is offered for the client well-being. We are able to bring that in when we are defining the space. So presence, as in I am there with you in the deepest manner possible, so that you feel seen, you feel heard, and you don't feel judged or rushed. And I'm willing to sit with you as long as you want me to sit with you while you touch or go into your inner world. The second thing which I find is very crucial for going deep into the relation, to going deep into your client being, is the sense of awareness. Awareness not only about what's happening to my client, but a strong level of awareness of what is happening to me. When I am in this session, how is my body feeling right now? Which were the most difficult moments for me? Is something rising? Is there an urge coming up inside of me right now, which is saying, move quickly from what the client is telling you? Or if there's, like, for example, if there's anger emerging in the session, then is there an urge coming up within of you which says that let's deflect that anger? Let's talk about something else right now. So when we speak about, you can only deepen your counselor presence when you have complete awareness of what that session is bringing for you as well. Counseling, I feel, is one profession where, as much as you bring the client in, you bring yourself in also. I also feel it's a profession which sheds the maximum light on you, on your biases, and this on an everyday, every session basis. The biases you hold, the histories that we come from, the urges that we have to fix, all of that gets exaggerated, gets shown on an every session basis. And that's why you would find that it is that much more important that what does awareness really bring? Awareness brings into you, this is going on with me. I know why this is going on with me. And I'm not going to allow what is happening in me right now to come out as a reaction. I will know how to work with what's happening inside of me. And the third pillar, which I find is very, very important, is the one of attunement, where I am able to see what my client brings in, even without the verbal signs. So, are there long pauses happening? Is there a hesitation that I'm sensing? Is there an anxiety increase that is happening when a certain topic is being touched upon? Is there a long silence? What does that really, is my client trying to tell me something without telling it to me? And that will only come when you are completely attuned with your client, when you're able to see what the client is wanting to bring into their space, when they find that that space is a safe space. They find that the human sitting in front of me is a human who is curious about my experience without being judgmental, without bringing in any of her biases, and is there for me for my well-being. So Sandy, I really feel that if we have to like bring it all together, I would say presence, awareness, and attunement are like the three things which help us deepen our becoming a counselor journey.
Yeah. Yeah, I think very much. And, these kind of like pillars and much more, and the way we move into it is pretty central in I think everything, like right from the beginning, that I felt is absolutely needed for from my own practice, from my training, and then bringing it to other people who want to hold space in whatever way, whether voluntary basis or in a professional kind of like setting. But this is the absolutely crucial thing. And each of these, like what you mentioned, is where um, like you said, they're not just the words. No, it's not just now, oh, I'm present, I can be in presence. Why? Or even take a very simple thing of not being judgmental, right? Let's take very basic Rogerian principles, which are like the bedrock of any good. I wouldn't say good, but the conditions, the absolute conditions that are necessary, irrespective of technique, is that even when you take something like being non-judgmental, is you can't say I'm not going to be judgmental now. It doesn't quite work that way, right? So then how does that non-judgment come in? And that's where this awareness shows up of really seeing when judgment is coming up. That's how we know how to be non-judgmental, because then we have a choice point of saying, oh, I see this and I choose for this moment to just keep it aside and not move with it. Right? And have then a way to kind of center that attention within myself and center that attention to the other, right? Often in our courses, what we call as holding this dual awareness, and that by itself is that building of capacity. And all of this, like you're saying, the attunement, there's a lot of research in interpersonal neurobiology, a lot of evidence that which has been known that this is something that happens between two human beings who are in deep contact. But there is the research to also show that it is the right brain to right brain kind of communication that is happening, which is beyond words. It's between the words. It's what's happening in that relational space between client and therapist or client and counselor. And where the client is, it's not the words that we're using to say, oh, I see you, I understand, I get you. It's not the words. It's You don't say that at all. In fact, you don't need to say that at all. But the client feels met and seen at a very fundamental level, not just in their pain, I would say, but also in who they are and the wholeness of who they are. So they get met and seen in a way that is very restorative. Um, and I find that those are really those powerful uh, moments that happen when something very deep starts to shift. Fundamentally, I think also where this is concerned, I found it like really, even if, to move into all of this, yes, there is the inner training, there's the practice, and which we will talk about as to what might be needed to come into this. But I also want to offer that I remember one of my earliest clients. This was when I was just doing what do you call it, the internship or part of the masters where you had to go to places and, do those number of hours. And I went to this, I was in this hospital, a municipal hospital, and in the psychiatric department. And then um, one of the seniors said, who wants to kind of be with this boy who was from the streets, and he was he was a 13-year-old, raped. Because he just wanted to join this group of transgender people, and he came back rescued from there, and he was completely shaken. He didn't have any of the skills that I have now, all the training that I have in trauma and trauma resolution. But what I do know is that that was one of my, I think those sessions with him are the ones that will really stay with me, because all I could offer was just listen. And that was it did something for him. And it did something at a very deep level. And it did something for me as well. And that's the whole sense. It's a privilege then to really meet, and meet something really deep in the other. Yeah. But maybe we can also open it up to kind of questions, but also, Jaya, maybe we can also talk a little bit more before we open it up to questions about just exploring then presence, awareness, attunement, and I would add this listening, which seems so simple. And what do you find can really aid that?
Yeah. So, and definitely, and the like even going with the Rogerian work, or what we call as basic common factors across all modalities, is our therapeutic alliance. We know that the working alliance is not an option. Our working alliance is the vehicle of change. And what I have seen in practice and with my conversation with professionals in the field is they all resonate with the idea that if there is a singular thing which really deepens your presence in the counseling space, it's your own personal work. They say that is one non-negotiable. The work that you do within, the work and the ability. So it's like you will have the ability to sit with discomfort with your client when you have cultivated the ability to sit with discomfort with yourself. We always say you can meet your client only in that much depth as you have met yourself. You can take your client only that deep as you have willingly taken yourself. And that's where the real shift in presence happens. And that's why we speak about becoming the person. We don't talk about doing therapy anymore. We don't talk about doing counseling anymore. We become the individual because we have used what we have worked with ourselves in a space where a relation is being built. And that relationship, why is it so important for personal work? And sadly, personal work does not seem to have a cutout time in our traditional training. It's more about, and understandably so, because traditional training and training that we are seeing are evaluation based. So it's natural that there's going to be a lot of information and knowledge and structure, which we need. Just connecting with your client is not enough. You'll find that you've lost direction. So we definitely need the theory. We definitely need the theoretical aspect, but the theoretical aspect should not make you miss the human. So usually we say, let the client lead. Let the client explore what is coming up in that space. And then you, because you have been trained, use theory in order to make sense of what is coming up. But don't let your theory come in front of the client. Let the client always be in front, and the theory comes from behind to make sense. And the theory gives structure, and structure is required for progress. You need to know a certain. We also state that the therapeutic framework by itself becomes a healing space. Again, that is something which we can work in. So if I really look at what would it be that a career, an early career therapist, somebody who's just entering the field, should definitely make sure that they are reaching out for. One is definite, there is no compromise with training, which means your competence has to be high. You must be trained in the modality which you're wishing to practice. The second non-negotiable is supervision. Supervision tells us what we can't see in our sessions. Supervision points out to us where we could have made an assumption, which may not be visible to us when we are engaging in that session. Supervision also, but that supervision must come from a space where you are equally curious as to what happened in that session as I went along in that session. So supervision is really effective when you work with feedback and you're open to feedback that is coming in. The third one I can't stress enough is personal work. Your personal therapy is non-negotiable. And in personal therapy comes those aspects of you which you may not be able to bring out anywhere else. You also need a space to feel I can be myself. You also just, and I also find that when you are in a personal therapy space, you have the feeling sense of what your client may be feeling on the other side. You experience it. You know what I'm receiving, and you would have a sense of this may be how the client feels when they're working with me as well. So that's another, and lived experiences, but experiences which are not just experienced, experiences that are reflected upon, experiences that are processed, experiences which say, I'm going to sit with this and try and find out how this panned out for me and what it meant for me. So I feel that if these things are put into place, we definitely have the capacity to go deep. We definitely have the capacity to make our counseling practices more enriching. And we have the capacity to meet the human who is sitting in front of us. And like we say, no matter how much we try, the counseling relationship comes with an inbuilt authority and submission paradigm. So the ability to still then meet this person in their vulnerability who have come to you seeking help, which already shifts dynamics, and to be able to tell them you are safe here and I'm meeting you person to person. And I think that's what we need to work on, where the question goes from, am I doing it right, to am I seeing this individual in the complete humanness that they are showing me right now? Have I developed that ability? So I feel, Sandy, that's where, we need to bring in more of this even in our academic trainings. and not merely leave it for after they have, got their basic degrees. They need to find it for themselves. I feel it's important for us to start integrating this as well into our regular academic trainings.
Yeah, yeah, that would be like really lovely because yeah, in some way, like the trainings that even Judge Bing is offering, it's more like after you do, but if it is inculcated right from the beginning when we are kind of exploring the field, which is, I think, exploring psychology is exploring yourself. I think they are intimately and exploring the other in the world. Yeah. I, I also think there's one more aspect, maybe, which I feel that it is worth that, people starting out uh, to what does it mean to be really embodied, have that embodied sense of presence. And one may want to do the somatic oriented work or the mindfulness based work, which is one pathway. But for the practitioner, irrespective, that it is not just like you said also, it's not just the understanding from just the intellect or just the meaning making, but it is also seeing, like even if there's a reaction coming up, our body picks it up, right? You sense it in the body first. And that's really a place where one can really be with that and be in connection and have a way of then addressing it later on, maybe. But to really notice something came up in the moment, right? And so to develop that capacity, which develops over a lifetime, I think, or more, is to more and more inhabit our not just the head, the heart very much, but also the body. And so it is a full meeting that is really possible with another. Yeah. Um, Yeah, I wonder from here if there are any questions that people may want, maybe things that we are not yet touching upon, but you're curious about. Yeah, you're very welcome to just unmute, share, yeah, ask your question. Yeah, Apurva.
Yeah, I wrote it in the chat, but yeah. So basically, I'm also I had my training of 1 year diploma for counseling, and now I want to start. But there are some doubts about myself, and I'm learning. I'm still, and we will keep learning. But sometimes it might happen that basically we start initially taking the sessions of the client, and we hear them out, and after that we think that we need time to design the therapy or design the direction that we want to go ahead. So in that but we have to at least complete the session, right? So in that session, what should be the right course of action? Because client is paying me, so I have to basically I have to understand them. That is the basic need. But yeah, I have to actually value their money and time also. So if I need time to design my therapy or design the next direction, what is the right course of action in the session?
Yeah. Do you want to take that, Sandy?
Yeah, I do get it, Apurva, that sometimes we have these paths that come up within us, these places that come up that say that I have to give the client his or her value for the money that they're paying me, right? This needs to be useful or meaningful for them. Otherwise, what am I doing here? So this kind of self-doubt and wanting to kind of provide something for the client, it also comes from a good intention of wanting that for the client. But in so doing, like Jaya was also referring to, like how we are rushing it, then we are rushing into something. And personally, I like that the design comes from the listening. right? So when we are listening and we don't know the way as yet, right? Because there are many aspects coming up, and it's like you're moving through the mist, and the road is not yet all that clear. But you're moving with your client, and the client also doesn't know, but you're moving together, figuring it out, and it clears up. And then it becomes clearer as to what are these pathways that one needs to take. But I think the crucial bit is the listening. And sometimes that's really big to offer someone.
Yeah.
Because
And
I don't have that. Yeah, Jaya.
yeah, and Apurva, I would also like to acknowledge and to tell you that everyone who enters the field is in the same space as you. Okay, so it's what you are bringing up today is a natural uncertainty that is experienced with anyone who's entering the field. So that's the first thing that you. The second thing is clients really don't need perfect therapists, and they don't need perfect answers. Clients need presence, and from not just from the community of therapists you will interact with, but even research shows that it's the presence, it's how you make the client feel rather than which design or which technique did you use that really matters to the client. So the first thing is to tell yourself it's okay to be uncertain. Okay, that's the first step. It's okay to not know. And one of the most important qualities for us to develop, and if someone asks me, when do you see growth in a therapist? So rarely will I say that growth is linked to outcome. Of course, we want our clients to feel that the goals they have decided with ourselves are where they have reached. But growth is also in a therapist for me. Can the therapist sit more longer with silence? Can the therapist sit with discomfort? Can the therapist sit with, I don't know what to do next? And can the therapist tell the client, I'm not sure, why don't we explore this together? The questions which you are raising are questions which come because you're just entering the practice. And that's why that shift is very important. Moving from doing counseling to becoming a counselor. So, what is it that I'm offering in this space? And then you can finish your session and take time to design what you think is the formulation of that particular client and how you would like to take it forward. What you can also do is bring this up in supervision and say, I feel this pressure. I feel the need that I have to give the solution. I have to give solution to my client. I'm feeling this need. Can we talk about it? So when you see what's happening inside, usually in a therapeutic space, a lot will happen, which is not just client. A lot will happen, which is you also. Our job in personal work is to know this is me, this is client. So I need to hold this back because I don't want to come in with this response right now. Right? So first, it's okay to feel the way you're feeling, right? And allow yourself to go deeper into offering and really understanding this person who's sitting across on the chair with you, and bring things into supervision when you feel a little bit shaky. Does that help?
Yes, got it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Apurva. Are there any other maybe comments, questions we have? Yeah.
Hi. I was just thinking about how what you were just mentioning, right? The process of becoming this person. And that's probably like a lifelong process. Like you never really become, it's constant becoming. But there can be so much doubt, shame, um, just difficulty with your sense of self as this process continues. And of course, supervision and therapy helps as you hold yourself through that. But it would be nice to maybe, or for me to maybe also hear from you on what would you advise people in terms of when it comes to holding yourself through that initial few times. I think the initial period feels tougher, then over time it gets a little easier. Or maybe things become difficult. I don't know. But how should new therapists maybe hold themselves through that period of uncertainty, of not knowing, of learning and figuring things out and going through that loop many times over?
Right, right. So, Ananya, what I would have, because I'm coming in, and then Sandy would come in with, her take on it. And I feel it's very important for us to offer the grace that we offer to our clients to ourselves first. It's very important for us to not push ourselves to become perfect. It's not going to happen. So first, sitting with that this is an evolving process, increasing the tolerance little by little for this discomfort is the work that we want to do. We don't want to say in 6 months' time, you're going to become the therapist who has sorted it all. But we want to say every week, every session that I'm going through, there is little bit more that I'm learning about myself and the ability to regulate those emotions within myself. So in personal therapy, we must also, as new therapists, bring up what this is, what is getting evoked in the session for you, and what does that mean for you. So we are really looking at making sense of the meaning and looking at absolve yourself from the pressure of I will never make a mistake. It's okay for us as therapists, once your working alliance is strong, no client is going to come to you like textbook. No client is going to come to you saying phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are going to go up and down with you. And at that moment, to be able to sit with, I don't know what to do next, and that's okay. I may make a mistake, but I know that I will go back and reflect on why that mistake happened, because it's information for myself as to how I need to regulate myself better. That is where the process slowly starts moving ahead. So are you going to reach a phase where you're going to be completely confident? And for me, confidence in counseling also translates into I am able to sit with uncertainty more. I would call that as a more confident therapist, rather than a therapist who says, I have all the answers and I know exactly what needs to be done. So, how are you defining your journey as a therapist is really going to help you to understand which pressures you are taking. What is it that you are telling yourself, I have to do in order to be a better therapist? And when I reach that, that's when I've become a good therapist. So it may be helpful for us as new therapists to define our understanding of therapy or counseling as well. What is it for me counseling really means? And how do I then reach at that point is how I look at it. Does that help a little bit, Ananya?
Yes, yes, it does.
Yeah. Sandy, you would like to come in?
All these are favorite topics. But Ananya, I'm also relating it to also going back to my early years. And it's also true even now. It's not just that it happened then, and it's an ongoing process. But there was a deep sense and a desire, actually, these voices of, I think what has held me in good stead are also these voices of self doubt, of questioning. Is that was that okay? Is that did that land fine? What's that aftertaste after a particular session that didn't quite sit right? And it's that quest of like really finding okay, maybe and also encountering clients who are going through something and then feeling that sense of inadequacy as well, and then that not to fill up that sense of oh I want to feel adequate, but it's that the quest that starts to happen that how is it that I can be supportive here, and what is it that I need to see in myself. And then that begins the journey to actually find that right supervisor, that right therapist for yourself, looking at those aspects of you, finding the trainings that can really add this value to or help you to develop those skills and capacities that are needed and needed on an ongoing basis. So I would say that this listening in also to yourself, not in a negative, critical way, but that really that there's something here that I can be curious about. There's something here that I can explore, and to kind of go with that because it's such a rich world that is available, so many possibilities that are there. So it starts that exploration. Another thing I'd just like to offer is that to really be aware of all those voices in our head, and how do we really first acknowledge those that come into the therapy room. Like Jaya said, okay, who you are, but who are you and how many people are there, you know, along with you. So there are many voices, and competing voices of pulling you in different directions. So without shushing them also because they are offering something, but without getting overpowered or drawn with that, to really also listen in, like, okay, what are these places within me that come up? Not during the session, that session is for the other person, but later on to really kind of like see that. Yeah. So nothing, what I think what it's pointing out is nothing wrong because in this whole process, this is the process. This is the process that will shape us. And it is through moving and navigating and being curious about all these things that are showing up that seem like barriers, but that is the path. That is the way through which we need to navigate.
And I also feel that when these questions come up, like let's say you've had a session, the session didn't sit well. There were points where, you reflected later and you felt things could have been different. None of that really is an indication that you're not a good fit for this profession. It's really an indication that you're very engaged with the profession. You're very engaged with yourself and with looking at what's happening in sessions. It's an indication of someone who is involved rather than a takeaway which says that, oh, I should not be doing this because this did not go well. So we also find that, career that counselors get better at doing, like I would say more than doing, at becoming counselors is when they take back points of reflection. They are very open to reflection. They are very open to feedback. They are willing to sit with something and say, I want to process that. When you are close to it, that's when your growth starts getting. That's why when Sandy also stated that this is lifelong. And I also have found counselors stating that after a few years of practice, you find it very difficult to separate who you are and the role. You become a person who is offering what you offer, and you're no longer playing the role, or there is no performative happening, which happens after training. After training, we do performance, right? Because we do things. But over the course, you find that you've become the individual. And then it becomes in all life spheres. It does not get limited to that space in your counseling room anymore.
Yeah, I think it's a nice, profound journey. Yeah, back to ourselves actually, and our own being. And we get to witness that on a daily basis. Yeah. Yes, Supriya.
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, I am new to mindfulness for a few years. Uh, what I have noticed in myself, uh, everywhere I kind to bring this up in all my conversations, mindfulness, and as you're saying, you become it. So I was just wondering that, as you said, no, as you progress in years, does this settle down, this urge and the happiness or wanting to spread this joy in our conversations? And it is my need. I realize that it's coming from within me. I don't know whether the other person will receive it, or whether it's, if I don't know, but I'm sitting with that urge to spread this beautiful concept and just talk about it. So does this settle down?
Yeah, you want to answer that? I don't know.
So, yeah. Do you want it to settle down?
Yeah, I think I should be more calm. So I don't know. This is new to me. I don't know what to look at.
Right. So that's usually something that happens with everything that's new to us. It's not just about the mindfulness thing that you are saying. We find that we usually call it in psychology, we call it as a psychology student syndrome also, where you will find that after they have studied a few concepts of behavior or thought or emotion, especially disorders, they kind of see that everywhere. So it's the novelty aspect that's working. But I will go a step further and say that if it's bringing you joy and if it's not harming the other,
Mm,
you need not worry so much about, will this die down?
okay.
So if it's bringing you joy and you are sharing something which people are receiving, why not? Is how I would
Mhm.
look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it also seems, Supriya, that you're passionate about it, right? And we talk about things that we are passionate about, and yeah, and we want to kind of share that with others in the world. The benefits that we are receiving, we want others to have it. It's all coming from a good place. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, passionate is the right word.
Yeah, yeah. As long as we are not locking people up in a room and saying, "Yeah, this is good stuff." Yeah, it should be okay. Yeah, people have a choice. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think Gayatri has put in a question in the chat. Yeah, Gayatri, would you like
Just
to?
share your source of inspiration. Yeah, what inspires you to keep doing? Yeah, keep engaging. Yeah.
Yeah. Gayatri has put in a question, Sandy. She would, yeah.
Okay, so Gayatri says, I sometimes notice a pull to perform my skills, competence in sessions. I catch myself watching to look like a good therapist in front of other professionals, clients. Apart from bringing it up in my self work, is there something I can do during a session to gently shift back to being fully client centered? Yeah. Uh, I can take a shot at this just to share, Gayatri, that when something like this comes up for me, uh, of yeah, of just one is that you're aware of it in the moment, which you're pointing out. That by itself is a big thing, right? And even if we are not aware, then later on we are aware, and that's a big thing, right? And then, so in that moment, as I notice that, as I acknowledge that, not fighting it away or pushing it away, I acknowledge that, yes, something in me wants to look good here or wants a client to have a good impression on my fellow, whatever. And you just acknowledge that, yes, there's something there. And then come back to find your ground. For me, I find it easier to find that ground when rooted in the body. I find some place in the body where you're feeling okay, you're feeling centered for now, and then bring the attention to the client and and it continues, the contact continues. So, unless Jaya, if there's something more.
No, I think I would kind of, agree with you that Gayatri, bringing in the awareness and over a point in time as you work towards that, when this comes up to me, what do I do? So we also, train students with the thing that sometimes when distractions come in, what you can do, you can use something like an anchor. Okay, so you can anchor yourself with, maybe you write at that point of time 1 or 2 words that the client is telling you so that you bring your attention back to the client. If you are drifting away, right? If you are going away with your own thoughts and not fully present. But if it is the thing of what you are saying, I think a lot of this will become, you've used the word correctly. A performance is when you are trying very hard to do something. When you keep bringing it up in your self work, it will become an integral part of you where there will be no more effort. You will be able to be there with your client. So keep bringing it up in your self work and keep bringing it up in your supervision. And after a point, it'll just become integral to who you are. So you won't need to perform anymore. You will be able to be with the client, centered with the client in the manner in which you would like to offer that space to the client. So keep doing that. It's a practice that happens over a period of time, and you will find that it naturally sets in. But if there's distraction that's happening, then keep an anchor with you in the session. Something that will keep getting you back. Even something that you hold possibly, but gives you a sensation, a body sensation of centering yourself. If you don't feel skilled enough to center yourself in your body at that point, you can start with something which is external and center yourself through that. Does that help?
Yes, yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Jaya, for joining us and everyone else as well. The rest of us, I think there were about, no, Gayatri, there were about 75 registrations. So they might just get the recording of this and listen to it. And we'll be in touch with you with any other information or questions that you'll have, that we can, if it is to me or to Jaya, we can pass it on to Jaya. As we end, there is a little verse that I'd like to read out. It's more. It's actually a verse where we share it when we are holding group spaces, but I think it's also a lot to do with. It's also for practitioners. It's called An Invitation to Brave Space. An Invitation to Brave Space by Mickey Jones. Together we will create brave space, because there is no such thing as a safe space. We exist in the real world. We all carry scars and have all caused wounds in this space. We seek to turn down the volume of the outside world. We amplify the voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call for each other to more truth and love. We have the right to start somewhere and continue to grow. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know. We will not be perfect. The space will not be perfect. It will not always be what we wish it to be. But it will be our brave space together. and we will work on it side by side. And I think as we enter into spaces with others, it's also this brave space that we are entering ourselves. And so just wishing you all the very best, and we'll be in touch. Okay, so we'll end here. Thank you again, Jaya, for joining in. And thank you, everyone. A wonderful hour together.